rigid line of conduct. Since then, the ethics department has taken over more and more. This is one of Hubbard's ethics orders on critics of Scientology, so-called suppressives.
SP order, fair game, may be deprived of property or injured by any means by any Scientologist without any discipline of the Scientologist, may be tricked, sued or lied to or destroyed.
Last year, Hubbard wrote,
"Now get this as a technical fact, not a hopeful idea. Every time we have investigated the background of a critic of Scientology, we have found crimes for which that person or group could be imprisoned under existing law. We do not find critics of Scientology who do not have criminal pasts. Over and over we prove this. Politician A stands up on his hind legs in a parliament and brays for a condemnation of Scientology. When we look him over, we find crimes, embezzled funds, moral lapses, a thirst for young boys, sordid stuff. Wife B howls at her husband for attending a Scientology group. We look her up and find she had a baby he didn't know about."
Most recently, Hubbard wrote this of a group of people who defended against the ethics department.
"They are declared enemies of mankind, the planet, and all life. They are fair game. No amnesty may ever cover them. The Criminals Prosecution Bureau is to find any and all crimes in their pasts and have them brought to court and prison. Any C organization member contacting any of them is to use auditing process R245.
Hubbard calls R245 an enormously effective process of exteriorization frowned upon by society at this time. But it's here, back on the ship with Hubbard, that ethics really flourish. The stated purpose of the ship is to get ethics in. Hubbard is captain. On the ship, he's not governed by English law. But we asked him about his authoritarian activities at his English headquarters.
If there is an authoritarian structure at St. Hill, it has been brought into being by the government itself. St. Hill is trying to correct itself. It doesn't know what it's trying to correct because nobody has told it what to correct. We get these odd allegations we used to in the old days, and I'm sure they still do. And all they'd have to do, all Robinson would have to do is say, "You fellows mustn't do so-and-so, and you must do so-and-so." And immediately these fellows would straighten out. As it is, they're trying to prevent Scientologists from doing something wrong, but they don't know what would be wrong.
But Britain, we hope, is not an authoritarian place. It does not say to people, "You will now stop doing this, you will now start doing that." And that is what your organization does. And some people find that helpful. They're told by you, and I'm sure you can do it very well.
Not by me. Not by me. This ship's company right now.
They think they're told by you at St. Hill, and they feel that you are a strength for them in that way.
Anybody who has inspired a movement would be a strength for them. But let me clarify this very definitely. It is not an authoritarian organization, and the only reason why it is trying desperately to keep itself in some sort of very firm order and so on is because they're trying to correct things.
But surely it's authoritarian in its treatment of suppressive people, that kind of thing. I mean, you don't allow criticism.
Oh, no, a suppressive person isn't critical. A suppressive person is a person who denies the right of others.
But surely you are doing precisely that thing to them by denying them the right to do what they want to do.
Perhaps, but if somebody's going to kill a baby, I think you would deny him the right too. This is beside the point. The only reason why any discipline has had to enter the scene, and the government should be very glad of that discipline, is to keep the lunatic fringe and from other people from exploiting this subject and victimizing people with it. If the government were to knock out the control point of Scientology, they would reap the whirlwind. Why do they just fight it and say there's something bad? But they never specify what's bad. They haven't specified. For instance, right now they say we're breaking up marriages. All right, that's a lie. As a matter of fact, they're saying that at the moment when you've got this book, which was just about to go on the press, is How to Save Your Marriage, because it contains thousands of successful marriages.
How many times have you been married?
How many times have I been married? I've been married twice. And I'm very happily married just now. I have a lovely wife, and I have 4 children. My first wife is dead.
What happened to your second wife?
I never had a second wife.
What Hubbard said happens to be untrue. It's an unimportant detail, but he's had 3 wives. He did have a second wife, Sarah Northrop Hubbard, from whom he was divorced on the 12th of June 1951. He has at least 3 other children. What is important is that his followers were there as he lied. But no matter what the evidence, they don't believe it. Nick Robinson was on that ship until June this year as Director of Public Activities.
How do Scientologists react when it's proved to them that Hubbard claims things in his past that just aren't true?
Well, it depends how high up they are. Obviously, you can shake a pretty new Scientologist that way. But if they've been in Scientology a long time, they don't think in other terms, you know. Scientology is their universe, and so they would just refuse to believe it.
What are you actually doing on this ship now?
I am studying ancient civilizations, trying to find what happened to them, finding out why they went into a decline, why they died.
This studying, I mean, what do you do? How do you do it?
I have sent out several people to look over areas and so on. They come back, they tell me what they are. I go out to the important ones.
Well, the way Hubbard did his research, so far as we could see, was to scout around the islands and the coastline of the Mediterranean and see what it suggested to him, you see. He was supposed to have total recall of past lives. This past life thing goes right through Scientology. So it's a pretty important thing to establish, you know. And one incident which he described at the party following his return was that he had docked at Sardinia. And 2,000 years ago, according to him, he had been the commander of a fleet of war galleys in the Mediterranean. And he had had an affair with the priestess of the temple on Sardinia. And he used to make assignations with her by a secret tunnel into the temple. It was all beautiful Rider Haggard stuff. And, well, at the island, he made a little plasticine model of the secret entrance and sent his troops around to scout around for it. And there it was, lo and behold. It was a stone which resembled the model. And they thought, well, this is the entrance. And when Hubbard described this at the party, celebrating his return, you know, the whole room sort of erupted into cries of good old Ron and the whistles, you know. And I think I was the only one there, kind of skirting at the banquet, you know, who thought, well, this is marvelous showmanship, but it doesn't prove a damn thing about past life.
Do you believe that you have lived before?
Now, to answer that question would be very unfair.
Scientologists believe they've lived before, though, don't they?
Oh, yes. As a matter of fact, it's quite interesting that exercises can be conducted which demonstrate conclusively that there are memories which exist prior to this life.
This is a drill. Fire on the food deck.
These are some of the faithful at fire drill, one of the few things we were able to film before they got angry. One crew member wrote a letter published in the ship's magazine.
My body was seen in the ship at a certain place, whereas at the very time it was being seen, I was discussing the very spot with another 3 Sea Organization members way away from where I was seen. After this, I received 3 letters from South Africa, the writers of which were glad having seen me and congratulated me on looking so well. My last time in South Africa was 1957. Recently, I went there 4 times, bodiless, to see my friend Chris Weideman. My body has not left Spain since it got here.